Hello.
Hello.
I feel like I say that all the time. I think I should get a new way of saying hello. Like, hiya or greetings, or perhaps I should go for a new language or just make up a new word like blib 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 blib. But then nobody would know what I meant, so that's probably not a good idea. Anyway, greetings, listeners. Very nice to hear you. No, very nice to be heard by you. If you're thinking this podcast is very silent and that there's not much talk, that's because Dan isn't here. You might be aware that the way we do these podcasts is that Dan is actually beamed into my room through a satellite link and appears as a hologram. And what happened this week was that we were just setting up the satellite relay, and Dan appeared in the hologram. But then there was a solar storm, and he screamed, and the hologram just blinkered out. And we checked with him, I think he was currently beaming in from Madagascar, and we checked his base in Madagascar to see if he was all right. And they haven't seen him. He's just completely disappeared. There were just some shoes with some like smoke coming out of them. And obviously he's not over here either. So we're thinking that he's somewhere in between. He's currently in the stratosphere or the ether or something. But hopefully he'll have recombobulated himself by next week. Otherwise we'll have to reconstruct his atoms. But we do have Roger. Is that your name? Can I use your name? I just did, accidentally. Are you there?
Hello. Well, it's too late now. Everybody knows.
Yes, it means Spear of God, I think. Is that
Close
right?
enough. It's close enough.
Yes. So it's good to have you here, and I should say that Roger does, all the server stuff and all the technical stuff in Mix and Mojo, keeps the whole thing running, and is kind of Dan and I's producer, and we'll sort of edit this together to make it sound like I'm not a complete stupid fool, which is quite amazing. And usually Dan would come in at this point and say, "Oh, yes, no. Oh, but you're a stupid fool," which is kind of, that's not a very good impression of him. Anyway, let's start with the Cook Chase and all the news. Okay, Trenched is coming out in June 22nd. Or maybe I mentioned that last week. Okay, move on. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean film. It's in a forum thread. That's new. That's never been done before. Jason did that. Brilliant. There's someone's done a piano cover of all the music in Tales of Monkey Island. You can listen to that on something called YouTube. YouTube, and that's on the internet. There's a preview for Trenched. The Trenched is the new Double Fine game. That's brilliant. Okay, quickly move on.
Manic Mansion is laid bare.
Ron Gilbert has posed naked for... Oh no, sorry, that's something else. Maniac Mansion has been reverse engineered. Okay, move on. And the last news post is that there's a new LucasArts president who's been there for a year, and nobody has noticed that he's existed, and suddenly someone has noticed that he's existed, and he said something about Star Wars.
Exciting.
That's the news. I think we should launch into talking about this LucasArts president thing. So this guy is called Paul Megan, which is silly because that's not even a real name. Have you ever actually heard of this guy before, Zaarin? Have you heard of him in Norway?
I had no idea who he is.
There's actually a photograph of him if you go to the website where he is, and he looks to me like he's a haunted egg with a mind and glasses, and he says, this is the quotation that has got the Tingler so incensed. He says, "Our priority is to create authentic, immersive, high-quality Star Wars games." And the Tingler has had a little mental breakdown because of that. And that's why they call him the Tingler. Well, actually, there's a few other reasons for that. I'm wondering kind of if this is something to be concerned about. Is this kind of him saying that, LucasArts is all about Star Wars games? Which is a bit ridiculous because it's not the reason that the company was set up, is it, Roger?
No, but it's been a company for about the past decade now. So
Yeah,
it's not a surprising move.
it was a while before they started making Star Wars games. They didn't start off like that, and I think George Lucas set it up in order to create sort of storyline games. Really, I mean, if you look at there's
Yeah.
a biography of one of the ex presidents from the 80s, and he says that he had this meeting with George Lucas at Skywalker Ranch, and he said like, what's your hey, what's your vision for the new LucasArts? That's not a very good impression. And the president said, well, okay. Sorry, I've got to stop doing that voice. He said that my vision is storylines and stuff like that. And, of course, Star Wars can have storylines, but to be honest, we've all seen them before, because there's only about 3 stories you can have in Star Wars, and most of them involve, Ewoks and lightsabers and stuff, and we've seen it before, so what's the point? So that's kind of my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even touch Star Wars in the 80s. They just licensed it out to other companies to make money out of it.
Yeah, well, and they've been doing that, I mean, Force Unleashed, that wasn't LucasArts, was it?
I have no idea.
That was Johnny Big Tits, I think his name was.
Yep, possibly.
I mean, I should also say that we're recording these podcasts a little bit beforehand. In fact, I'm actually recording this in 1963, and all of this is actually guesswork. We're just kind of guessing the invention of the internet, guessing LucasArts. I mean, it's very accurate guessing because we've done a lot of research, and we're plotting out the future of the universe based on sort of chaos theory and the kind of what we know. It's very complicated, but basically that we're just guessing all this. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I'm calling from 56, so it's even earlier for me.
Yeah. Well, so Roger is in 1956, and he's kind of guessing that someone will come along in 1963 and take his audio and then just sort of fill in the other parts. And I'm sort of guessing that someone in the future will edit all this together and put it up on something called the internet.
Yeah, it's amazing. It sounds.
It's a lot of guesswork. I shouldn't even be here, of course. I'm supposed to be planning my holiday in Dallas. I cannot wait. Apparently the president's going to come along the road in a motorcade, and hopefully I'll be able to see a glimpse of him. And in fact, I'm thinking of getting up on a sort of like an elevated area, maybe like a grassy knoll or something like that, to get a really good look. So that will be very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. So back to the guesswork about LucasArts. What do you think about this game that might be coming out in 2011 called Trenched? I'm just guessing the name of that, but from what I know of the universe, I think Trenched is a good guess of what it could be called, from a company that could be called Double Fine. What do you think of that, Zaarin?
Well, it could look good. Well, it could be a great game, but it could also be a.
What do you think of the?
It could also be another one of those Matryoshka doll game. That wasn't that much fun. When you moved these dolls around and they jumped into other dolls and we took over their abilities.
Oh, the doll game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot we predicted that. Did you play it? And by play, I mean guessed it. Guessed the gameplay. Not quite sure what I'm talking about.
I was going to
now.
guess a review of it, but I didn't have enough to say. So
you didn't.
I don't remember if anyone even posted one.
I think someone did. Yeah, there was certainly a predicted review. This is getting very complicated. I'm going to stop talking about this now. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Maniac Mansion news about it being reverse engineered. What's the point of that?
Well, that's interesting because it got reverse engineered a decade ago.
Right, when it was created.
The document that Crumbs posted is
Oh,
new,
yeah,
I guess,
that-
but the
yes.
actual work, the reverse engineering, happened a decade ago for Scum VM. They did all that work, so it's not really news per se.
Yeah, so that's all the news. I kind of noticed something that our most successful podcast we did was when I mentioned people's names, and because people love having their name mentioned. Like if I just drop in the name Schmargen, for instance, he's going to probably comment on this. He's going to say, "Hey, it's not a very good." Sorry, I've got to stop doing that voice. It's not a very good. No, that's not better. I'll just do it normally. That's not a very good podcast. That wasn't very good without Dan. It was all a bit of a shambles. Dan's the man. If he can't do it, no one can. And I hope he'll be back next week, because Gabriel on his own is a bit of a tit. That's what I imagine he's going to be saying. I mean,
It's a good guess.
well, I'm guessing from 1963, so it better be a good guess. But anyway, I was thinking that what we could do is try and read out everyone's name on the site, everyone's username. So like an epic shout out to everyone. And I'm going to save this podcast on my recording machine, and it's going to be picked up in the future, and maybe someone in the future will add it to the end of the podcast. Like this.
CK Subs, Quadath, John N.A., Kimzor, Andy Bundy, Videogon, Zerhacker, Relax, The Mind Disascity, Overman, CJ Moore, Largo, Ineptian, Dragma, Melrond, Johnny837, J, Mailman, Private Prostitute, An Aspect, Indiana Smith, M16, Frankenfrog, Light Rises, Wiki, Night Light Town, Simon PH, Alex IDV, Scary Dot, MacGyver, Joey Olsen, 17 The Cox, Torah Ghost, Poland, B459, Rob, Satan, Belladex, Mr. Rascal, Sir Radius, Fantastic, Wolfenstein, Williams,